The soldier noticed the rolling soybeans on the desk by chance and realized a startling truth. The watchtower they were guarding had severely tilted. Even worse, the soldiers who were supposed to come and replace them had been delayed for 3 whole months. Supplies in the watchtower were almost exhausted, and the communication equipment was damaged for unknown reasons. Just as the four fell into despair one day, Mike made a horrifying discovery during his patrol. A warship suddenly appeared on the sea not far away, but there was no signal on the radar at all. The captain took one look through the telescope and immediately ordered the soldiers to prepare their weapons and initiate Level 1 alert. The soldiers quickly loaded ammunition and aimed the guns at the distant warship. The female soldier, Daisy, then used a megaphone to issue a warning to the other party.
Sentinel to vessel. Identify yourself.
However, the other side never made any response. After a brief contemplation, the captain decided to send Mike to investigate. Although Mike was filled with unease, he could only drive a speedboat alone towards the warship. When he got closer, he was shocked to find that it was actually the rotation ship they had been waiting for. But this ship looked unusually dilapidated. Not only was the hull covered in rust, but there was no sign of people, more like a legendary ghost ship.
Hello?
Mike circled the warship twice and finally mustered up the courage to board the ship and investigate. As soon as he stepped on the deck, the walkie-talkie suddenly lost signal, making his heart skip a beat. He immediately raised his weapon and cautiously walked towards the cockpit. The moment he pushed open the cabin door, he was stunned by the scene before him. The cockpit was in a mess. The circuits and communication equipment had long been damaged. The cups were covered in cobwebs, and ants were crawling all over the floor. It was obvious that this warship had been abandoned for a considerable amount of time. After a thorough search, Mike discovered that the ship had stored a large amount of supplies and was equipped with 4 sets of brand new military gear. Apparently, these were meant for the 4 soldiers who were supposed to rotate shifts. But strangely, why did they suddenly disappear? At the same time, the captain had been unable to contact Mike and suspected that he was in danger. Therefore, the captain decided to activate a small nuclear weapon to destroy the warship. But the activation required 2 keys. The captain held one, and the other was in Daisy's hands. Daisy was reluctant to easily activate the nuclear weapon, but under military orders, she had to compromise. Subsequently, the captain inserted the 2 keys into the switch, entered the password without hesitation, and set the nuclear bomb to launch mode. Just as he was about to press the launch button, Mike's walkie-talkie restored signal and immediately contacted the captain to report the situation, thus avoiding a disaster. Knowing that it was just an abandoned warship, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. The captain then ordered Mike to tow the warship back to base. At this point, Daisy asked for her key back, but the captain said he would keep it for her. To find out the truth behind the sudden disappearance of the rotating soldiers, the captain boarded the warship alone, found the voyage recorder, and restored the warship's sailing trajectory, discovering a shocking secret hidden within. At the same time, John and Mike repaired the warship's engine and excitedly told the captain the news. But the captain brandished his weapon and warned the 2 that leaving their posts without approval from their superiors would be considered desertion. Faced with the threat, the 2 had to temporarily obey, but were not resigned in their hearts and began to secretly discuss plans to resist. Just then, the captain appeared with Daisy, suggesting that they pilot the warship back to headquarters and reapply for replacement personnel. But Daisy had to stay behind because the base's operation required the cooperation of 2 people. Mike immediately objected upon hearing this, as he and Daisy had been in love for 2 years. So he privately found Daisy and persuaded her to leave the watchtower together. But unexpectedly, Daisy said something very cold.
I don't love you, Sullivan.
Faced with Daisy's heartless rejection, Mike decisively chose to leave. In the middle of the night, the base suddenly sounded an alarm, and radar detected a warship rapidly approaching their position. The captain immediately ordered them to enter combat mode. But what made Mike feel puzzled was that the captain directly ordered to open fire without first confirming the other party's identity.
Ready? Fire!
The first shell did not hit the target, and the soldiers quickly reloaded. Just as they were about to fire the second shot, Mike was horrified to discover that the towed warship had disappeared. He immediately realized that the captain had secretly taken the warship away and then ordered to open fire and sink it, completely cutting off their hope of escaping the watchtower. The captain threatened the 2 at gunpoint to open fire immediately, but John shook his head and refused. The captain then shot him in the ear. Seeing this, Mike had no choice but to open fire and sink the warship at sea. Witnessing the destruction of their only means of escape, John lost control of his emotions and rushed towards the captain, determined to fight to the death. At the critical moment, Daisy launched a sneak attack from behind and knocked the captain unconscious. The 3 then locked the captain in the warehouse and took the nuclear bomb key from his neck. After the captain woke up, Mike questioned him why he suddenly changed his mind. But the captain claimed that the disappearance of the warship had nothing to do with him and revealed the secret he had discovered. It turned out that 3 months ago, this warship had arrived near the watchtower, but suddenly changed course and stopped in place, indicating that someone had deliberately sent the wrong coordinates to the warship, and this sender must be among the 4 of them. The purpose of sinking the warship was to root out the mole, but Mike didn't believe the captain, thinking he was trying to sow discord. That night, a drunk John told Mike that the captain had suddenly disappeared. Mike felt something was wrong and hurried to the warehouse to check, only to find that the captain was indeed missing. Traces at the scene showed that he had jumped out the window into the sea, but it would take 14 days to sail to land from here. And there was only this watchtower in the vast sea, so jumping into the sea was no different from seeking death. Mike felt that something was fishy and gradually began to believe the captain's speculation. At the same time, Daisy and John decided to go to the military ship's last stop and try to find useful clues. The two left the watchtower by boat. Not long after leaving, Mike found the captain's corpse while retrieving the fishing net and saw the bullet hole in the captain's head. Mike instantly understood that the captain had been murdered, and all the evidence pointed to John. Afterwards, Mike returned to the cabin and searched through the files in the file room, discovering that John had bipolar disorder, but was drafted into the military due to his skill in warship maintenance. This meant that if John was indeed the mole, Daisy would face great danger. However, what Mike never expected was that it was Daisy who returned alone at night. She tearfully told Mike that John was the real killer who murdered the captain, and she was lucky to escape. But Mike already had the answer in his heart, and he didn't expose Daisy, because when he checked the duty log, he found that the day the warship was supposed to rotate, it was Daisy's shift. So the next day, he inserted the nuclear bomb key into the switch, entered the password, and activated the self-destruct device. Just at this moment, Daisy happened to walk into the cabin. Mike immediately drew his weapon and questioned Daisy about the truth of the matter. Seeing this situation, Daisy no longer concealed it and confessed the whole truth. It turned out that she was actually a spy. In order to control the watchtower, she destroyed the communication equipment and sent wrong location information to the warship while on duty. Then she rode out alone and pretended to meet with someone in the thick fog, suddenly shooting and killing the replacement soldiers on the warship. The reason she did this was to obtain the key to activate the nuclear bomb. After listening, Mike resolutely activated the self-destruct device, but the watchtower did not explode. Seeing the garbled text displayed on the screen, the two realized that the watchtower didn't actually have nuclear weapons at all. And at this point, there were only the two of them left in the watchtower. In order to survive, they finally put aside their differences and lived happily together.